good. It's good to speak with you, sir.
I know. I've been watching you. I'm a fan.
I'm a fan of you as well, man. It's really really cool to see how like the thing that I think of the most when I think of like your brand is like just how excited you guys are about what you're doing. Like I can definitely feel the energy around like just how stoked you are to provide the service that you provide. So I that's it's
Thank you,
attracted me
man.
to the brand, man. It's yeah, it's really cool.
I appreciate that, man. That's things you think about, but you never really know if you're delivering. It's like one of those things where you're like, like I dig it. I dig what we do so much, and you hope that that comes through. When people are taking in what you do. It's crazy. I'm sure you see so many people kind of like give themselves and they don't know what they're giving. And then they wait for the market to tell them if that's cool or not. If like that's all right, like that's acceptable, not cool, but accepted.
Yeah.
And then they kind of like either adjust or they don't adjust. For me, like I just give what I am and I adjust very little. I just kind of morph words so that they kind of connect better because like the energy is always going to be the same, right? When I'm in
Yeah.
it, I'm in it. I do nothing halfway. If it's going to go, I'm going. I'm going. Like, that's just the way we go. So, but anyhow, oops.
Love it, man. Love it. And very, very grateful and thankful that you could come and be a part of this podcast today. And I'm really super, super excited to hear from you, hear a little bit about what you guys have going on. We're going to get into a lot of things around, your brand, how that started, things of that nature. But first of all, I just wanted to say thank you, man. Thanks for making the time. I know, as
Thank you.
entrepreneurs, we all live very busy lives. So I appreciate you taking the time out, sir.
Yeah, it seems like it's gotten busier though, right? Like I was busy before, and I figured like, 6 days, 7 days a week, many hours. You're grinding. You're thinking like, man, am I giving it all? Am I giving everything I got? And then COVID hits, and then it's like, holy, there's a whole other level of work I got to add to my work that I never even knew or took it. Like I was taking it for granted. Like kids, like I have two kids, 8 and 5, and
Yeah.
I have a daughter and a son, and so school stops and now you're like, holy cow, how do I ever make up for this time, and how do I add that to what I'm already doing? So
Right.
so man, it's been a challenge.
It's
It's been a great time to be alive, a great time to be an entrepreneur, bro. That's what I think.
I couldn't agree with you more. And like it's funny, like I've been saying this since the beginning of this. Like I feel like this is like the true test of entrepreneurship. Like just like like what are we as
Yeah.
individuals gonna do when our chips are down? How are we gonna treat people? Like treat our clients, treat each other. Like it tells a lot about a person like when they're under that type of pressure. And it's been a common thing for a lot of business owners lately, for sure.
You know what? What a great point. Like to me, you always hope that you will rise to the test. You know, when that test comes, I will be ready. Dude, sometimes I was ready. Sometimes I wasn't ready. I'm human, like, and I think that a lot of this has been like really figuring out all of the mistakes you're making as well as appreciating the things you're doing well. So sometimes things were happening. There were some challenges in our business specifically that I never thought would be a problem that I'd have to deal with until I was in it. And then when I'm in it, you're trying to just solve the problem. And at the same time, you've got people that you're interacting with. So you're trying to be, right and ethical and a quality person. And so that's your driver. And then things sometimes don't always line up where you're like, oh man, I gotta do a bad thing here. That I don't want to do. I don't like doing this, but it's just a really hard scenario. To give you context, COVID hit,
Yeah.
everyone's closed. You're in this weird spot. Well, our business is construction technically. We're in a construction industry. I'm in a renovation industry. Our business, Soulstone, we're a natural stone importer. We directly source all of our products. We bring them into the country, carry a really exclusive line of products and stone that are ours. You can't usually buy them in any other place in Canada. That's kind of our pitch. And then at the same time, the industry within it is I'm in countertops. So what does that mean, right? Like 9 times out of 10, if you're building a new house and you get to the countertop phase and the countertop guy isn't ready, you put plywood down, you put a temporary sink in, you hook that thing up, and you get your occupancy permit. So when it comes to the definition of essential, all of a sudden, how essential am I? I mean, we have a solution in place that helps construction keep moving and builders keep moving should that delay occur, get people into their house.
Right.
And yet, so when Ford comes out and, whatever, love it or hate it, however our leadership you feel, they've handled this to the best of their abilities. They come out and make a decision. They've got to make a decision on a macro level. There's companies like PCL, there's Ellis Don, there's massive construction companies involved. If they go and say, you guys are all closed, construction's closed, that's not going to fly. There's no way these multi-million-dollar corporations are going to be like, no, that's okay. We'll wait for you. No, they're building condos. They are going to keep building, Yeah. So now there's a provision in there that kind of says construction is essential. And, if you're building a house, it's essential you get the people into the house. Well, I agree to that. That's a true thing. You need to get people into their house if they're waiting on a house project. And so electrician, one in, one out, one man's in, one man's out. We're keeping safe. We're following guidelines. That guy is definitely essential. Plumber, essential. Like everything involved in that process, all of those people, they're all essential. When you get to me, I am, but I'm not. And so how do I play that? There was no book given to me from Ford or from the Ontario government that said, you are essential or you're not essential. And I'm in a gray zone. So then it becomes your individual business. How is your business built? We have built our business for the last 2 years in this area, extremely built on end user. I am end user driven. I am marketing to end user. I am dealing with end user. I am selling and getting the buying process through the end user. So our percentage of builds or new builds are very small. Under 5% is what I do for builder projects.
Gotcha.
How do I start my machine for 2 or 3 projects when we're used to doing, 30, 50, 40, 60, whatever the number is in a month? How am I going to just do those little couple jobs? We have a lot of people in our wheel. So going back to your original point, that's a really tough decision. I don't want to tell the people who are waiting to move into their house, I can't put your countertop in right now. I can't do it. But we were put in that position. And some of the time we had to say no because our system just isn't built to work under those specific guidelines. And getting people into, we have 20, 30 people in our system all built in for our installs, our templates. People have to move stone. There's truck driving involved. There's a whole bunch of intricate levels that the average person doesn't think about, and nor should they. That's our problem. But it's hard to get that rolling for just 2 or 3% of your business. And so that was one of, by far, the biggest challenges that we were dealing with COVID. I think that's a hard thing to go through. And you want to be a good person, and you just struggle against that sometimes, of doing the right thing and still protecting your family and business. Very tough. Very, very tough.
Very much so. And to your point, like, and a question that comes up from that is like, what was the general response? Like obviously, like there were times you had to say no, like we can't do this. Like what was like the general response that you would get from a client when you were put in that tough situation?
Good and bad. People are human. Nobody is perfect. And what this taught me is that there's so much emotion involved in some of these decisions. And so, it's all about how people react in general. I would say it's fair to split it. Some reacted well and some not so well. We tried our best to be the best that we could be with everybody. And we did our best to try to protect our brand and protect ourselves, and then still make sure customer is getting what they want and what they need. For the most part, people are really cool. They work with you. They understood that this is a once in a lifetime scenario. I'm not doing this because I want to. There's no like no, like this is good for me to say no to you. You know,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm not benefiting from this. Um, for the last time that we've been doing our installs, the last year of business in the area, we were turning around at 6 days, 5 days, 7 days. I was going from measurement to install in 6 days. You know, all the time. Like, and so we never really missed. The longest we went was 10 days.
Right.
Now I'm in a position where 75 days, my guys were off the road. They weren't working. They were sitting, they were waiting, they were patiently waiting. 75 days is a lifetime in our world. So for me, I had no benefit. I think when people were just got to a human level and they could see there was no benefit in me telling you this, then it's you having to deal with your position. You may be in a negative position. I dig that. I know it's tough on you, but you got to kind of come to grips with that too. And we both have a responsibility that we both have to engage here. And in humans, humans are humans. They will react.
Totally get it.
They will react, So
Totally get that, man. Totally get that. Yeah, and it's interesting because like I've been talking to like a lot of the different business owners around the challenges that are happening like in their situation right now. And like a big theme around it is kind of like coming back to like the why, of like, like why did we even do this in the first place? Because like you get to that point like a frustration or whatever, like in the day to day or whatever is going on. It's like, man, like why did we start doing this again? So like I'm super curious like around like how did Soulstone like become birthed? Like where did that idea come from? And how did you guys like get started in the first place?
Awesome. So if you're watching our brand, if you follow our brand at Soulstone by GMI, you'll notice that I'm short a half. So my wife, Laura, is my partner, my soldier here. And she couldn't be here today because of kids, right? So, but nonetheless, so Laura and I have been married a long time. I was in real estate. I'm from Durham area, Pickering. My wife is from Vaughan. We were in real estate for 10 years, and somewhere in the middle, we moved to Costa Rica. I was about 27 years old. The two of us moved down there.
Costa Rica.
Yeah, we were in search of what was life, and so we went down on a holiday, stayed for 2 weeks, and did the same thing everybody else does. Come home, and be like, how do we get back there and live there? Within 6 months, I was back. And we went down, we sold all our stuff here. I was in real estate. We kind of hoped to transfer into real estate down there. It's about 2009, 2010, not a great time for real estate. But at the same time in Toronto and in GTA, we were kind of isolated. We were booming, condos were booming here. We didn't really notice that the world was actually falling apart in real estate. I mean, you heard about it, but I hadn't. I was young. I was only 27. And so when we got down there, we got exposed to like how bad everything had gotten. So that was okay. We kind of migrated out. We ended up opening a shop at the surf spot doing wraps. It's called Wrap It Up. And we had a local girl make us tortillas in the mornings, and then we'd sell, chicken. Essentially, I ripped off Pita Pit. I went around. I went for every restaurant that was there. I never owned a restaurant. I've worked at it as a server, but the only thing I couldn't see was Pita Pit. So we ripped off that idea. I did a version of that, and we hung out and we made some money and lived on the beach and surfed for a while. And then we came home to have kids. And kind of reassessed, got back into real estate, got into renovating and flipping duplexes. I was a licensed realtor, or still am a licensed realtor. So we found properties, we fixed them, we did all that. We did that for 5 or 6 years. I ended up moving to Brighton. Actually, I'm your neighbor, sort of. Moved into Brighton.
Where Brighton?
Yeah. Oh, I ain't gonna say right now. I don't know. No, I'm up on the north side. On the north side, up by Proctor Park there. So
okay, I know where you are.
So 2016, 2015, 2016, the real estate in Durham kind of did this like blip, and I was deep into real estate, and I kind of felt the blip coming. It was January, about the same time, and so we had a couple properties and a bunch of projects that we were working on. We kind of moved off of those properties, sold at a high, took some of the profits, and we're like, well, where do we go now? We were looking for small town life. We moved to Brighton. I ended up there for the last 2.5, 3 years. It didn't take me long. I was supposed to take the summer off. We didn't. I ended up finding a house in Wellington within about a month, trying to get my kids to fall asleep. I drove down Loyalist Parkway, ended up in Wellington, found an ugly house. Partner and I picked up the property. We've renovated it, turned it into an Airbnb, da, da, da. When I got through that process, I started looking for countertops. Now, I had always used my same system that I used back in the GTA, and I had my guy, and I liked, and I was used to him. And then when I came here, I tried to do everything local. So I was trying to help out local economy, buy, supply, a lot of people. And so we went for a local guy, and just wasn't used to didn't find what I was used to, right? And so as a consumer, I felt like the market was missing a little feature. It was a good market. The people here were good people, but just that the model was a little different. It was the model more than the companies. The model that we use now isn't implemented in ever, really. Very little people do this way. So that's what really attracted me. We felt like there was an opportunity. We went back to my partner my guy that I've been using for a long time, explained the scenario, and that's how it was born. And really, the truth is that Laura, I used to lose my wife, dude, in the warehouse. Like, she'd go in, and there's thousands. We have 1,400 slabs. So she used to go in, and I'd lose her for like 3 hours looking at stone. She just passionately loves the stone and loves all of its applications and how to use it, and she loves it. And so then when I seen that, I'm like, oh, there's passion there. She's gonna crush this. I just have to be the dumb sales guy, or be the guy who's lifting, or find a role. Essentially, you find a role, and she'll carry you over the finish line. So that's how we did it. And so she named it Soulstone. Is from her. That's what she feels when she's with those products and those materials. It's in her soul. She loves it. Wow. And we just brought it. So what is that system? Essentially, we are the importer. We are the retail division of the natural stone importer. In most other scenarios, there are fabricators who cut the stone. You go to them, they buy from multiple importers. They have a bunch of samples, racks. They'll have things out that you can look at. And if you want to go and see more slabs, you go to a bunch of different suppliers, either in Ottawa or Toronto, and you touch and feel the slabs, and you go that way. They'll buy them for you. They'll put them in for you and install them. And then that's how the process works. For us, we are the retail division of the importers. So when you deal with us, you deal with one system. There's one person. We do not move, and there's no other position where people are in the way. We bring it from quarry in block. We cut them into slabs. We ship them into the country. We hold our inventory and mark them. We have 100 plus stones here at Carrying Place. The stone that's here, you can touch, you can feel. If you want it in your project, we send it back. If not, they're all backed by our inventory back in Markham. So it gives you one point of contact. There's no finger pointing. There's no it's not my fault, it's that guy's fault. Never happens in our system. It's meant to just be streamlined, frictionless.
Love it. Love it. And you use that system right from the beginning.
Yeah, right from the beginning. Like, it was the thing that made it different. It was the opportunity was in how the system was built. We came at it from consumers. We were consumers. I'm not the guy who cuts your stone. I'm not the one who's measuring it out. I'm not the one who's installing it. What that does, in our opinion, is it removes all the ego. There's no ego involved now. Now it's not about Steve, I'm not wrong. I made that measurement. It's right. There's no, I didn't do that. I'm not the guy. So let's negotiate and find the common ground. Let's find solution. There's no problem with ego. That's a big thing for us. We want to remove the ego out of the sale process and allow people to just, shop, get what they want, and get it delivered right.
I love that. I love that. It reminds me of a conversation I had with a guy here in town about he's like, man, people just want it to be easy to deal with you. That's that's essentially what it comes down. Like anybody that deals with anybody, you just want it to be easy. If it's not easy, then you're looking elsewhere.
They don't have to shop with you. They don't have to buy from you. There's no reason for anyone to buy from you. They either like you and they like what you have, or they don't. And sometimes, sometimes people don't even really necessarily have a feeling about you one way or another. In which case, you better have a good product, and you better have a good delivery, and you better have a good system in place, and you better have thought of all the little things that could go wrong so that you stand above the rest on merit, as well as just they like you. So I think all of those things tie in. We've built a team here, and I love our team. It took us a long time to put them together. It's not big. There's 4 or 5 or 6 of us that are working all together, but we're good. We're very good at what we do, and we have a good system, and we've automated and put a lot of things digital. A lot of our stuff is digital. All of our contracts of work are digital. All of our templatings are all reviewed digitally. So when this thing happened, like, dude, we didn't take that long. We shifted. We just pivoted really quick, and we tried to figure it out. So we've been doing virtual tours like crazy. And, the buying process can continue even though they're not hand-to-hand connecting with us or even necessarily in our showroom. We're walking people through with FaceTime, and just like we're doing right now, and I'm showing stones, and I'm showing them the stone, and I'm answering questions, and we're going through different ideas. The best part that I never even seen coming is they end up doing it in their kitchen. So now I get to see the kitchen in real time, instead of when I'm in the store and I'm trying to guess at what they've got and guess at how their layout is. And it's a brown, it's like an oak, but kind of like a maple, my cabinets are,
you can see harder
it to man, I can see it. Yeah. And it solves a lot of problems. So that was been a very big thing for us. At this point right now, my showroom is still closed. Just because logistics wise, it's hard to reopen the showroom right now. But we've done so well online while we were closed that really we're operating like nothing's really happened other than we couldn't work. So we were still selling, people were still going through our buying process for our customers is a year, sometimes 6 months, 5 months. There's a luxury buy for our people, right? Our clients are luxury. They don't have to put this stone in. They don't have to do that. So then they must now do research to make sure that value is there. And we encourage that. And so that buying process, there's no rush there. It's about picking up and keep answering questions all the way through the process for them. So when the doors close, no big deal. Let's just keep that process rolling. And then when I do open my doors, eventually, you're done. Don't worry. We'll get you installed and we'll complete the deal, right? So
love it. How many years in business are you now?
We just so we took over. We renovated our building in 2018. We opened officially the February of 2019. We just did our 1-year anniversary at this location, February 2020. Our partner, thank you very much, man. Our partner GMI have been in business for 7-8 years now, out of Markham area, and have been operating internationally for I think a decade now officially. So GMI has operations in Dallas. They have them through a couple different states in the US, in Turkey. And so we're on a global level with our partner. And that gives us a lot of flexibility and opportunity to see how different markets are reacting to. I know how countertops are moving in Dallas. I know how countertops are moving in Jacksonville, and so those are things where trend-wise always helps, because we know what the trends are going in. Canada is always a little behind. We run a little laggish on our trends compared to a lot of parts of the world. So it gives us an advantage that way. And then in addition to that, you get to see how these people are operating in COVID, and how are they going without letting anybody in their showrooms or their warehouses. So it's been good. It's been really good.
That's phenomenal, man. That is phenomenal. Listen, I know we're tight for time. I really wanted to get a couple more questions in for you though. Like what I've adjusted so far, you're like a big ideas guy. You're not satisfied. I sense that from you, the moment, you're not satisfied. I'm super curious, around 5 years out, what does life look like for you, man? What does your business look like? Or just
our business, I mean, is expandable. We can open these type of operations in different marketplaces. I foresee us doing that at some point into some different areas. We have a model that fits well in communities like this, where there's population growth, there's some, there's discretionary spending. There's people that are creative. I mean, the things that we carry attract artists a lot because they're just so organic. We have products of quartzite and things like that where there's big movements, and so they attract a grain of people that really fall in love with the product. So anytime where you're in those type of markets, we can expand there. So I see that happening for us. I'm bullish right now on online. So I am pushing a lot of things. And it's funny. It's like, how can you sell a 2,000-pound piece of stone online? That's a big question in my head. Like I deal with that a lot. And so I'm bullish on the ideas that we have. I have a lot of faith that we are going in the right direction. We're really working hard at figuring that out. This business is great for us because Jeff Bezos can't do it. No matter how hard he tries, he cannot import the stone into our country. He cannot install it, and he cannot actually physically manage it and store it. He just doesn't have the interest in it, and nobody within his system does. And to me, that's a vulnerability in a lot of businesses. Is like anybody can come and search your product and kind of pitch it on Amazon and sell it. If that can happen, then you can be wiped out by a teenager. So you have to be on point and find something. That's my biggest thing. So yeah, how do I take it online and not fall into the vulnerabilities? That's the key.
Yeah, well, I mean, case in point, like you already said, like you're set up in a way where like Amazon really couldn't facilitate what you guys are able to facilitate. So I think that gives you.
The margins don't make sense, right? If you're in a business where they can make margin on you, then it makes sense. And so that's all it is. You just reminded me of something else. I'm also doing this thing I'm super proud of. If you go onto our pages, you'll see it. It's called a tile vending machine. I've created a tile vending machine. So during the closure, we were doing a lot more tile sales than I expected online because it's practical. You're at home, you're staring at like, what can you do? 9 times out of 10, the average handyman can lay tile, and the average wife knows that. And so there's like, go do that now. And so there was this drive in tile, and to do it contactless was challenging. So we've operated a new room out of the side of our building. It's completely remote operated from our phone, doors unlock and lock. You're completely isolated by yourself. There's two-way camera and video or audio as well, so you can communicate with us. All of our tile products are in there. Simply take a picture, give us your square footage, send it to us, and the tile will either be left in that room for you to pick up, or we'll do a delivery contactless directly to your job site. So innovating things like that, I mean, those are cool things. I really like that. I'm pushing on those. I'm going to start opening those in every city near you. I'm going to push tile vending machines like crazy.
That's phenomenal, man. I'm going to go check that out.
Yeah.
Like, last question I want to ask you, like, what advice would you give to a business that has been closed? They're opening back up. As we can see, Mr. Ford is allowing us to reopen certain things. What advice would you give to somebody? I know you're going through it, but I know in a sense you haven't had to really stop a whole lot aside from actually doing the work. But what advice would you give to business owners that are reopening now?
Look, everybody has their own challenges, right? And so you got to get into your world. This is like the time to put a bubble around yourself and figure out how your business operates at the top level. And don't really worry about what everybody else is doing, because it does not necessarily apply to you. And if in crisis is when innovation occurs, to me, in my opinion, humbly, I believe that in crisis innovation occurs. You cannot innovate substantially if you're always watching what the other guys are doing, because then you're just really copying. You're taking a good idea, you may make it a little better, but ultimately that was never your idea. So how do you know what it looks like at its max level? I think the best thing to do is to get into your own world, figure out how you can operate better, more efficient. How do you deliver a more frictionless service to your customer, and then feedback, and then see if that worked. Like, ask them, does that work? Do you like that better? Or is that worse? And then adapt to that. Don't go based on what the competition is doing and then react to that. React to what your customers are telling you. Sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't. They're very clear about what they want and what they don't want. And I think that ultimately you have to listen to your customer and innovate, and keep innovating as quickly as you can. And don't get married to any one idea. There's no way. This has showed you, at least showed us, that there is no good one idea. You have a good idea. If it survives this, there's probably a good idea. Keep doing that, but start looking at other ways to pivot. I think the best thing, and I know we're short on time, the best thing in this area that I've seen is the amount of creative people stepping up and pivoting their businesses. Restaurants turning into drive-throughs or drive-ins, some turning into markets and shopping centers and shopping and like, dude, like that is the stuff. That's what it is. It's the ultimate pivot. It is what people need to start doing. Watch that. Watch that. Don't watch what your competition is doing. Watch what the guys are doing in another industry altogether and how they pivoted. And be like, wow, that's a great idea. I can do something very similar in my business if I did this or this. That's what I think. I think that's the best thing.
Totally agree with everything you said. That phenomenal advice, man. Phenomenal wisdom. Jeez, man. Lots of wisdom there. Steve,
that's all I got. You just took everything I got. So copy that, print that, send it out, and don't let me ever speak again because it won't get any better. No.
Listen, Steve, I'm so happy that you were able to come on today, man. Really, really appreciate you. Appreciate your wisdom. Appreciate what you guys are doing. You guys are a force to be reckoned with in this community, my friend. All the best wishes and luck to you going forward, sir.
Thank you. That makes me nervous at that pressure from you. So that's great. That'll make me better, I'm sure. I love what you're doing, dude. I love that you're pushing. And you know what? For me, who's always on a camera anyways, I feel like I don't do enough content. I watch you and I know I'm not doing enough. So then it makes me like elevate a little bit more. So please keep pushing that level, bro. You're doing big things. I really am. I'm impressed every single time I see a new thing come out of that system of yours. So keep it up. I love it.
I appreciate you, sir. Appreciate you, sir. All right. Thanks a lot, man. You take care.
See you. Bye-bye.